Hello, Craig.
Hello, Colin.
We are back with more Star Trek this time. We talked about the first two Star Trek movies at the end of October, early November 2025. So this time we're going to be talking about Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. Now, Craig, this doesn't deserve another intro. What did you think of Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock?
I think it's okay.
Okay. I liked it. It's obviously everyone's going to say that it's coming off the heels of Star Trek 2. So it's not going to compare to Star Trek 2, but it's in its own right, it's a good, maybe not great, but good Star Trek movie. What didn't you like? Let's start there, Craig. What didn't you like?
It's not that it's a bad movie. I just don't think it's as good as the best. It's 2, 4, 6.
The
It's
even.
definitely, yes, it's definitely the best odd number one. It's not bad. Because only
Right.
people like to say all the odd number ones are bad. I just don't. It's just not as good as the other ones.
Yes, that is true. First off, there's one thing that I don't like about this movie, that it kind of creates a ripple effect and it kind of poisons what people think Captain Kirk is like. And obviously, it's the plot thread of him being a renegade, which J.J. Abrams took and exaggerated it entirely. So that's like an unintentional consequence that this movie created, is this misconception of Captain Kirk as some maniac who breaks the rules all the time, has no regards. In TOS, he's a good captain. He follows the rules pretty well. And obviously in this one, he did it to save Spock. He chose friendship over duty, essentially. So he's not some renegade that runs around and breaks rules.
Well, that's the line at the end of the movie where he talks with Sarek saying, after all that you did just to save Spock, was worth losing the ship, your son, your job. And he's like, well, would have lost my soul if I didn't try.
The cost would have been my soul.
Yeah.
So again, he was doing the right thing, not I break the rules. Rules are for squares.
Yes. I think another negative, Craig, for me is Courage, right? Oh, Cruge? Christopher Lloyd as the Klingon. He's not really given a whole lot to do in this movie, and he's kind of one note, which is a shame because it's Christopher Lloyd. Christopher Lloyd's great. I love when he's screaming too. It just sounds like Doc Brown. Get out!
But just his
yeah,
face,
there's
I
not a
always
whole lot
think
to
of
do.
Doc Brown, all the goofy faces that he made throughout the movie.
Yeah, he doesn't have a whole lot to do. And I think one thing that is also a little underdeveloped is obviously Kirk's relationship with his son David. Now, I'm not a monster. I can empathize with Captain Kirk, but in terms of a movie and a movie structure, you don't really feel that connection. On surface level, I understand, I feel his struggle, but in terms of a movie, there's not a lot of interaction. They don't have any scenes together until Kirk sees his dead body.
In defense of Captain Kirk, I guess he knew about his son, but that was the first time he met him, what, like a week ago in terms of the movie's timeline?
Yes.
So I can see why, I guess, to defend the movie, they don't really have that connection because they don't. They just met. It's not really,
Well, that was a problem that Wrath of Khan created.
yeah.
So I guess maybe that was their way of kind of getting rid of that plot thread. I don't know.
But I just don't like killing off, main characters' children. This is obviously more of how I feel about how the modern writers write TV shows where people can't have children or move on and grow up and take on new roles. This was, I think, done more for different reasons. I think of how people do stuff today and it just irks me. If that makes sense.
I hear you. I hear you. What else did you like or didn't like, Craig?
Well, you mentioned the main villain, Crudge, how he wasn't all that
Mm,
great. And it's kind of the main problem with the movie is that it's almost two very different, not connecting plot points going at it. You got the Klingons going after the Genesis superweapon
hmm
again, which is a retread from the last movie. And then you've got Kirk trying to revive Spock, and there's no real villain. I mean, for a contemporary comparison, I think of Endgame, where there's no real overarching villain driving the plot, just them bumbling around until they just happen to run into a guy who's trying to do something completely different.
Yes, for the young people, that is a good example because I was actually going to bring that up where they have no relation, Kirk and Crudge. They don't know that one another exists really until they talk across the telecommunications from ship to ship. So that is another, it's missing that personal connection that obviously that made Wrath of Khan so great where they had that history. And maybe it's not so much that they need a history, it's also the fact that they are interacting with each other throughout the plot. That's not in this movie at all. They don't, I mean, I'll have to look at it in the timeline when I'm editing, but they don't come probably face to face in the movie until the very end, and that's when Kirk kicks him in the face, and he does his classic TOS moves where he does the shoulder hits. He does that weird kick where he jumps and he does like a backflip. I have had enough of you.
I have had
enough of you!
I mean, stuff like that's always great to see. It's just taking a step back. Yeah, you kind of sucker me when you watch Kirk's old fight. If only they were playing the old music too, I would have been I've been sucked in. I probably wouldn't have noticed all the other problems, but
And if Bill had a different toupee also. He had his TOS toupee.
yeah, they got sucked in.
I also liked, because I know you know this movie introduces the USS Excelsior, which I do like. It is a cool looking ship, even though it doesn't really do much in this movie. But for me, in the Star Trek universe, I do like the USS Excelsior. Even though that design becomes the Enterprise B, but I still like it. So it's a cool looking ship.
I mean, they showed off more of the Klingons, I guess. But yeah, this was the first movie that really showed off the redeveloped Klingons. I know in the motionless picture they showed their new design, but this is them, I guess, acting much more different.
Yes.
As opposed to just being very thin.
You talking about from TOS, how they just looked kind of silly?
Yeah, they were like covered in brown paint and they were the Soviet Union. Now they're a little more developed and different.
They have. Is this the first movie to have the bird of prey, or is that the motionless picture?
I mean, if it was the motionless picture, this is the first time you actually saw it in action.
Right, because I can't remember in TOS because I know it's a thing in the Star Trek canon that if a bird of prey cloaks, it cannot fire. So they have to decloak and then fire, then cloak again. So I don't remember if that was established in TOS. I know there's that episode where Kirk dresses up as a Klingon to get a cloaking device and he infiltrates. Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think this was the first one to show it. I know we're not the biggest Star Trek nerds. We like it, but stuff like this,
I honestly
don't really...
I can't remember because I've seen TOS once and I loved it, but I can't remember because I know because I'm on season 2 of TNG. I think they have mentioned that in the past where a bird of prey needs to be cloaked and then decloaked to fire.
Well, yeah, because the cloaking device uses up so much of the engine's power that they can't do both at the same time.
So you mentioned you didn't like the Genesis. And I think I can excuse it because this does feel like a two-parter kind of series where it literally takes place moments after the Wrath of Khan. So that's why I can kind of excuse it because these two movies are... I know they say movies 2 to 4 are kind of one big arc, right? And that they one continuous story.
Yeah.
They consider the fourth one part of that. But even this one really does feel like a part 2 to a duology. So I can't fault them too much for using the Genesis because it takes place right after Wrath of Khan. At this point in Star Trek, they weren't running out of ideas. They just wanted to finish plot elements and plot threads.
I understand that, but at the same time, I think that works better for a TV show. With a movie, I feel that you really shouldn't be running the same kind of story over again, especially for a sequel. With a movie, especially for Star Trek, you're going to be having different ideas every movie, not retreading the same thing the next movie.
I guess, but what I'm saying is I don't mind it too much. Now, I don't know what the audience's expectation was in 1984, if they were expecting a lot of Spock, because the movie is called The Search for Spock, but he does not appear as Leonard Nimoy until the very, very end, where they recite what they said to each other at the end of Wrath of Khan, except they flip it. The needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many.
Because the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many.
I thought it was a nice little moment at the end that if you got through the movie, if you're not the biggest fan, but at least if you got through the movie, you could appreciate that moment between Kirk and Spock.
It also hits home more when you've seen TOS and you've got that relationship with you and the character, not just the characters in themselves.
Well, yes, I think we talked about that in our Star Trek 2 episode where when Spock dies in that movie, not only one, does he really die, but two, they had those years of friendship that we got to see and experience with them on TOS. I have not seen the animated series, but that carried over too. And then when you look at what J.J. Abrams and his cronies tried to do, not only does Kirk die, but he comes back 10 minutes later and they hate each other, so...
Also, this is very different where you don't really have actors portraying the same character over and over again. I mean, you could say I know nothing about the history of cinema, whatever, blah, 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 but I feel like it was rare at the time for us to be playing a character for so long, then finally die. You think the character would live forever.
Yeah, well, obviously, I think we talked about it where I'm not too sure if Nicholas Meyer oversaw that final shot of the pod on the Genesis planet. I don't know if he was a part of that. Maybe Paramount did that, but we talked about how they definitely did that. They showed at the end to bring back Leonard Nimoy if they wanted to and if he wanted to come back. And he directed this and he did come back, so he definitely had a change of heart, I guess, after Star Trek 2.
But I guess that's one of the main things is how they brought back Spock. And out of all the ways to bring somebody back from the dead, this was probably one of the better ways of doing it. That he actually did die, and they just happened to find a clone of his body. They didn't try to clone him. They just happened to find a clone, and Spock saved his soul into bones.
Yes, I forget what the whole thing was called.
The Katra. I don't know the name of
The false Torpon, which was the ritual where they refused Spock's mind. But yes, Spock's brain. But yes, Spock does die. And Genesis recreated his body when the Enterprise launched his memorial pod into the Genesis planet. So yeah, I agree. Old Spock, the Spock that we saw from TOS to Star Trek II, is gone. His physical body is gone. This is new Spock's body.
Because most of the time when people die or come back, I always think of soap operas where they come back. It's like, oh, I was actually really close to death. I have brought my heart rate really down, really low. Or I swapped my body out with someone else. No, he died. He was actually dead.
Mm-hmm.
His body just happened to get cloned. They've had his soul preserved. Again, not the best, but in terms of other adaptations bringing characters back from the dead. Or it's like they went to the Star Trek version of the Underworld and went through the River Styx and got a soul back.
It's not like they time traveled and then they retcon the end of Star Trek too. That would be nuts if they did that.
But that actually would be more plausible because they do time travel, so that actually
they have time traveled a lot in TOS.
Well, in the next one they time travel.
Well, yes, but I'm saying up until this point, obviously, yes, they time travel in Star Trek 4. Wait till we get to that movie.
Well, I'm just saying, time travel is more of a reoccurring plot element in Star Trek. So if they were to do that, that wouldn't be out of nowhere.
It's true.
But I did like just how they decided to bring him back. Not something stupid where, oh, actually, it wasn't radiation poisoning. He just faked his death or something stupid.
I know we're talking about some negatives, but how about you tell me some more positives? If you have any more, besides, I guess, the cast.
There are a lot of good scenes in this. Like when Sarek comes to Kirk's room and he was upset that Spock had died.
Mm-hmm.
One of the few times Sarek was actually showing emotion. Of course, heck, we forget when
they blow up the Enterprise. Oh.
Well, that's obviously, but I like when Bones had Spock in his mind. You could see the Spock was starting to affect Bones. And then when he found out that Spock put his soul in his mind, he goes, that green-blooded ingrate. That's where the arguments he lost against me.
It's his revenge for all those arguments he lost.
That line alone, it shows you why they understood Star Trek more than J.J. Abrams could ever even conceptualize that.
Not even J.J. Abrams, it's also crony Alex Kurtzman.
If they really understand Star Trek, and then here's where you show a picture of the view numbers for Starfleet Academy.
Oof. I don't even want to do that. That'd be so depressing to see.
And obviously you mentioned when they blow up the Enterprise, another big deal. Now it's kind of overplayed in Star Trek media where the ship gets destroyed, especially in the J.J. Abrams universe where didn't the ship get destroyed in every movie or almost destroyed?
No, it only got really destroyed. It got damaged a lot in the first two movies, but they didn't destroy until Beyond.
Well, yes, but it was still under heavy damage where most of the time the ship never sustains that much damage. They usually never put the ship in that much harm's way because they're not idiots.
Well, that too, yeah. And then in Generations, it gets destroyed.
But this is the first time it happened, so it wasn't overplayed like in the newer adaptations or newer stories.
Yeah. Get out! It's a really cool scene, but it's kind of weird how much explosion and fire there is, and only half the saucer got destroyed in that huge fireball.
Although I was wondering, what exactly was their strategy? You blew up your only ship. I mean, they didn't seem to have much of a plan after they beamed down. It's like, well, I guess we're stuck here.
Well, I guess his plan was, because he asked, I think, Scotty or Chekhov, how many people can man a bird of prey? So Kirk essentially was baiting them to come over there and take out most of the crew. So maybe he could either bargain with Crudge or whatever his name is, or they could get onto the bird of prey and overpower that limited crew because they killed everybody else on the Enterprise.
But that's a huge gamble. I know Kirk is a gambling man, but I would not like those odds. You run through analysts or a machine that gives you the odds and it's 1%. It's like, I'm not. I think I want to do something else to better my odds.
Oh yeah, but the Enterprise, as I said, it was barely fixed.
Well, and they only had 3 or 4 people running the ship, so obviously they were going to get overpowered.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also why it was a better way of destroying the ship. Usually it's done for melodrama, but here it was more of a tactical move to destroy the ship because they were outnumbered. They couldn't fight back.
That's what makes Captain Kirk so great. A calculated risk to gain an upper hand.
Yeah, it's not other movies where it just gets attacked and it's just a lot of carnage. Star Trek's supposed to be smarter. There's supposed to be smarter characters doing smarter things, not whatever you're going to show a clip of Star Trek Discovery or the newer Star Trek.
Or even the TNG movies.
Captain Picard
I mean,
riding a dune buggy.
well, not even that. Captain Psychopath killing people and foaming from the mouth like a rabid animal.
Wait till you watch Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, but that's different though. From what I mean, I have seen the clip of Cisco.
Where he
but-
orders the torpedo strike.
Yeah, and even Worf is like, whoa.
I will detonate 2 quantum torpedoes that will scatter trilithium resin into the atmosphere of Colossus 3. I thereby will make the planet uninhabitable to all human life for the next 50 years.
I'm joking, but when you see the context of that, it makes more sense why he did that. The scene out of context makes him look like a monster, but in context, he's actually being pretty smart, which is how
Sure.
Star Trek
Yeah,
characters are
yeah.
supposed to be.
Yeah, not Picard in First Contact. Just he was an animal in that movie.
No!
And I know you said there's was it the Best of Both Worlds episode or whatever, 2-3-parter where you do see how it affects him, but I don't know. It ain't Picard.
It isn't, but I can understand more so why he'd act like that as opposed to J.J. Abrams' Captain Kirk.
Well, yeah, that's why I said that was an unintentional consequence from this movie, is that it created this facade what Kirk is, even though this is one, maybe I haven't seen Star Trek 4 in of such a long time, so when we review that next week, I'll be refreshed on it, but very few examples of Kirk has he ever been a renegade. And this movie kind of created that idea that, oh, Kirk is a renegade.
Yes, to the dum-dums at Bad Robot. Oh, one thing I did like was when that one Klingon, he tried to surrender. It's like, you should kill me. And then Kirk said, all right, fine, I'll kill you later. And then when he gets back on the bird of prey, he goes, you said you would kill me. He goes, I lied.
You said you would kill me.
I lied.
Yeah. Well, I like that in the beginning where Krudge wanted to negotiate with, I forget what the ship was, that Savik and David, we'll talk about Savik in a second, but the whatever ship they beamed down from, Krudge told his Klingon officer to damage one of the engines, but he accidentally blew up the ship. He just kills him.
Classic bad guy tact. That's why when people said they liked him, didn't really have much to him, and he acts like a typical dumb bad guy.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing also that we talked about it earlier, but he's missing that kind of, it doesn't even have to be personal. He just has to interact with the main characters. Interact with Kirk, do something throughout the movie, just not kind of have two separate plot lines and they somehow intersect.
Because that's why I don't really like the movie as much. It feels, again, very disjointed, where Star Trek 2 felt very, at one plot, Star Trek 4, one plot. Even Star Trek 6, the other good one, was a very good plot.
Even the motion picture had one plot.
Even the fifth one.
Yeah, they all were more focused than this one.
Like I said, this movie has good moments, but it's not as well done as the other ones in terms of story.
No, it is not. And like you said, it definitely is, from the original movies, it is the best odd number.
Yeah, because for some reason people say odd numbers are bad, even number good. This one really isn't bad, it's just not as good as 2, 4, 6.
Yeah, and again, it doesn't help that this comes off of the heels of Star Trek 2. So that doesn't help because you truly have the greatest, arguably the greatest Star Trek movie. Some of the most iconic Star Trek moments, too.
This one has its moments, it's just not as good.
The moments don't involve the villain, is the thing, though. The good moments, because you could reference Star Trek 2 and a lot of the great moments involve Khan.
That's a good point.
Not so much, someone's gonna, if they comment, someone's gonna say, you're mispronouncing his name, I don't remember what it is. Kirstie Alley, who played Savik in Star Trek 2, has been replaced with this actress who would reprise her role in Star Trek 4 again. And I know a lot of people don't like this actress. I know Gene Roddenberry didn't like this actress that played Savik, but she didn't really have a whole lot to do in the movie, so I didn't really care too much.
Did you not like her for behind-the-scenes reasons?
No, I think he thought, and I could be entirely misquoting Gene Roddenberry, but I'm pretty sure I read that he thought she was a terrible actress. Maybe it was Nicholas Meyer. I don't remember. Probably Roddenberry. But yeah,
She wouldn't join his harem.
They replaced Kirstie Alley, or she didn't come back for whatever reason. Probably a contractual reason. Who knows?
Or maybe she saw the part that was too small for her. She's like, you know what? I'm just going to do something else then.
That could very well be true, too. And to be honest, like, Savik didn't really do a whole lot in this movie.
Well, that's why another reason she could not have come back. Just not worth her time.
Yeah.
This was definitely one of the first times you start to notice more of the main crew besides Kirk, Spock, and Bones, and sometimes Scotty.
Yeah, they gave Sulu a little moment to shine. Because we talked about it in I'm pretty sure our first Star Trek. I know we talked about it in Star Trek 2. That TOS was the Bones, Kirk, and Spock show. The Holy Trinity. And then fourth place was always Scotty. Fifth place, you could argue, was Nurse Chapel. And then it was Uhura. And then towards season 2 and 3, it was more Chekhov. Sulu was always at the bottom. He didn't really have a whole lot to do. There's that one episode where everyone was drunk, kind of, and Sulu was shirtless running around with a sword in season 1.
But that was the only real episode that he had a major role in. Other than that, he was just a background character.
Yeah, he really did not have a whole lot to do. He was just the helmsman, and yeah, I mean, Star Trek was never focused on those kind of background characters. They enhanced it, sure, but it was always about Kirk, Spock, and Bones. And Scotty. Scotty was there too.
He's the fourth if you want to include 4, but again, usually it was those 3, and then Sky would be the other guy if they bring in somebody else who do some talking.
Yeah, but I guess they give the other Chekhov, Sulu, they give them something to do. Uhura.
Yeah, and Scotty was talking about how he didn't like the new ship, which is, I guess he's attached to the Enterprise. You know, he's the engineer, loves his ship. There's that one episode where, you remember in TOS when Scotty got into a bar fight because someone was insulting Captain Kirk, but that didn't really bother him. They insulted the Enterprise and he started the bar fight.
Yeah, vaguely. I think I remember that.
And even Kirk was saying, so you let them insult me, but when they attacked the Enterprise, that's when you attacked. Is that correct? They insulted my ship.
You hit the Klingons because they insulted the Enterprise, not because they... Well, sir, this was a matter of pride.
So I can see why I'd be attached to the Enterprise. What did you think of the directing? Because this was the first one directed by Leonard Nimoy.
I thought it was fine. Maybe he had a little bit of some pacing issues, but that could be attributed to just the script. But in terms of the look of the movie and the direction was fine. What I'm trying to say is I thought he did a really good job. Because he would direct 2 of the Star Trek movies.
Yeah, 3 and 4.
This 1 and 4, yeah. Well, Craig, do you have anything else to say about Star Trek 3? Do you have any final thoughts?
No.
Oh, you don't want to summarize what you think about the movie in one sentence or 2?
It's not a bad movie. It's an okay movie. It's just 2 different movies kind of jammed together for a not very exciting ending.
You mean climax? I thought the ending was good. I think it's a good but not great Star Trek movie. We said it's the best of the odd numbers. So it's better than 5. It's better than The Motionless Picture. But it doesn't help that it feels like a part 2 to another story. And they kind of retreaded the Genesis. And the villain is unfortunately a letdown. But again, not terrible. I'd still take it over the JJ movies and some of the Generations movies. But
anything Star Trek related post 2016.
Yeah. Well, yes, anything after Beyond too. I would take it over in a heartbeat. But with all that being said, this has been the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased except ours. I'm Colin.
I'm Craig.
And we will see you next time.
I have had enough of you!